mon ami, and welcome to another episode of ASMR in the best possible timeline. Today's episode is going to be a whisper ramble featuring my favorite xylitol gum made by Spry. I have not tried any of the other flavors, so they're probably great too. I gravitate towards this spearmint. I like this gum because it has xylitol, and xylitol is a biofilm buster. Now, I know from a feeling place that not everybody likes gum chewing rambles, and if I'm being totally honest with you, that's by design. Because part of me doesn't want anybody to see this video, and the other part is doing something uncomfortable because #growth. So today's whisper ramble is going to be the kind of thing that I would normally put on Patreon, and I would feel fine with putting it on Patreon, but alas, here we are on the World Wide Web, and I'm going to be getting into some very personal, vulnerable feeling stuff in honor of Valentine's Day. So today's whisper ramble is going to be about moi and what I want, need, and can give in relationships. Now, last week I shared a video called Love Is Not Enough and Other Relationship Insights. That video was like super fun, easy. I think it's very insightful. I think it has a lot of value. This video is nothing like that. This video is all about me, and it's spooky to admit these things on a public platform. But if you're anything like me, you have like 5,000 friends who are like, and family members, and just people in your life who manifested the love of their dreams because one time they wrote down what they wanted in a partner, and like the next day they met their wife, and you're just like, what the fuck? I journal every single day. I have made that list 8,000 times, and I haven't been on a date in a year and a half. Okay, maybe that got a little oddly specific to be relatable, but you get my drift. So I was gonna shoot this and put it on Patreon, and then I was like, let's go crazy, let's just put this on YouTube, because maybe my one and only someone is out there on the internet. Maybe he's been on the internet before. Maybe he has like a sister. Actually, yeah. A huge, like 90% of my following is female, so maybe he has like a sister, a cousin, an aunt, a coworker, a best friend who's on the internet. That's you. Okay, so let's get into it. Frankly, like everybody else, I have terrible taste, so it's not gonna be a great look. I'm gonna get in. Yeah. Okay, before we get into that, I'm gonna do something that's a little more comfortable, and I'm gonna ask you if you could have any pet, real or imagined, and all of its needs would be taken care of. What would you have and why? If you saw my video with Maddie a couple years ago, then you understand the significance of this question. And whether you saw it before or not, I just want you to take this opportunity to revisit what your answer is. Pause the video if you need to really get into the why of this question. Why are you choosing this pet? You could have picked Chewbacca or Jabba the Hutt or an Ewok or something not from Star Wars. You could have picked what's the name of that? Oh, I can't remember anything right now. You could have picked Aslan from Narnia. You can pick anything. You can pick a dragon. A lot of people pick dragon. What would you have and why? Really, 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 really get into the why. Write down your answer. Even if you write down your answer now and then you comment it below, I'll even go ahead and tell you what I think of your answer. I've been playing this game for a very long time now. I've asked tons and tons of people this, and I'm very good at sort of reading in between the lines of answers and giving people fun, valuable insights to themselves. So I'll wait. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to tell you what my answer was, and then I'm going to tell you my new answer, and then we're going to get into my list. So, the first time I was asked this question, I knew my answer immediately, and it was my dog Shock, and this was about 10 years ago, and I said something to the effect of like, I could tell you it's because he's really, really smart and super duper cute, and we cuddle all the time, and he's my best friend, and he's my rock, and he loves me unconditionally, and we go on all these adventures together. I could tell you all that, and all those things are true. And like, they're there. It's part of it, right? But why I picked him is like, why I picked him as soon as I laid eyes on him. I was like, that's my dog. It was this magnetic, energetic, like, pull that I had to him, right? And at that point, it was love at first sight. And back then, that's really what I was looking for in a partner. And I'm not gonna lie, like, that still intrigues me. And for some reason, when that happens romantically, we're trained not to trust it. And maybe that's good advice, honestly. But when it happens with a dog, you're like, yeah, love at first sight, no big deal. Or if it happens with like a newborn, you're like, love at first sight, obvi. But in romantic relationships, maybe that's not the best. Maybe it is the best. I don't know. The jury's out on that one. Probably depends on the people. But about a year ago, someone was like, say something else, something besides Shock, and I was like, I know the answer. Like, I know what this means. So I can't play the game anymore. And he was like, just, you can't have Shock. What do you pick and why? And again, I knew immediately. I was like, well, and no one ever says this, by the way. Have you ever read his Dark Materials, The Golden Compass, Amber Spyglass, that series? It's so good. And everyone is born with this animal that like pops up when you're born. And when you're a kid, your animal can kind of like morph into any animal. And then when you get older, your animal like settles into what it is. So like, if you're a sailor, you might have a seagull or a sea lion. And if you are a pilot, maybe you'll have a bird. I don't know. I wanted something that could morph, and I don't understand why more people don't choose a morphing animal. And I wanted my animal to be able to be really big or really small. And I wanted it to be able to be like a giant cat, not like a cat, like a tiger or a lion or a wolf. Like, those are the two, like cat and dog, but like they're primal versions. And I wanted it to be able to go back and forth, so it could come anywhere with me. It could get like real tiny and I could hide it in my shirt if I had to, or it could be like a really big lion and like protect me if I needed it. And that's such an interesting answer, because bringing it back to what I look for in a partner, I really do look for someone who can, and I think this is a quality that I have, like morph and sort of fit in different situations, right? So like, for example, like, I am equally comfortable if you take me to a red carpet event. I've been to red carpet events before. Like, I don't have a problem there. But I'm just as comfortable, like, handing out sandwiches in a Skid Row community. I've done that too. Like, no matter where I'm really comfortable. I'm really comfortable with like different people of all walks of life. And the thing that's interesting about both wolves and lions and tigers and that kind of thing is that they're very familial oriented. They're pack animals, but they have like a hierarchy, and I don't want it like a leader, right? Like it wasn't gonna be a lady lion. It wasn't. It was gonna be like an alpha male lion, like Mufasa's dad, or it was gonna be like, or no, Mufasa, yeah, Simba's dad, or a male wolf, like something that led a pack safely. So my animal would have a pack, probably me and my dog, I guess, and it would be the leader, and we would sort of like submit to its wisdom, and it would keep us safe, that kind of thing. So that was my answer when I did this a year ago, and I thought that was so fun and interesting to be able to do the question again, even though I know what it means. I didn't like consciously go, oh, I picked this for these reasons. It was just like, boom, Avi, who wouldn't want a giant lion wolf? I don't even want to know that person. So getting into what I want, need, and can give in relationship. I started writing a list yesterday, and I realized that it's kind of difficult to dissect between what I want and what I need. So I'm just gonna lump want and need together for simplicity's sake. And maybe I'll choose to like label one or the other as I am talking about them. But much like my animal answer, I really want a competent leader, and that's already so hard to find. It's, yeah, good luck, Yvette. And this is why I'm single, in case you were wondering. I would love, it's not necessary, I don't need this, but I would love a karma yogi like myself. So karma yoga is the yoga of action. It concerns itself, it's like very sort of self-absorbed, very introspective, self-reflective, and it's all about like, am I being the best me that I can be right now? So although I don't have any reason to believe that Marcus Aurelius ever heard the term karma yoga, he's kind of like a karma yogi. If you read between the lines of meditations, very concerned with doing the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing, like virtue is its own reward, that kind of vibe. Like, that man is keeping me single 2,000 years after death. The fact that Marcus Aurelius existed is why I've been on a date in a year and a half. It's part of it. Okay, so someone who's really another part of like being a karma yogi is that he was a very, very pious man. He was constantly in communion with the divinity within himself, and in communion with the gods, and in reverence and an honor to the gods. Once upon a time, I dated an atheist. The only person I like ever considered marrying was an atheist, and I have changed a lot since then. So yeah, no more atheists for me. No shade if you are an atheist. I was an atheist for a really long time. It's just not where I'm at in my journey. As the light is moving and we're changing. Anyway, so other things that are really, really hard to find in people who are alive today. Honesty is like, I'm a bananas honest person. I'm definitely been called honest to a fault more times than I can remember. Honesty matters more to me than that's fine. Like, I understand you have this need for me to cater to your emotions in a way that isn't in alignment with reality or my affinity for honesty and the truth. So, compromise. Let's just stop talking. And sometimes it's my friends, and sometimes it's people who want to date me. But in any event, yeah, I'm not usually willing to lie to people, and so they have to be able to like both deal with my truth and my honesty, as well as give it to me straight. Like, I'm not someone who wants to beat around the bush about anything. Like, I feel like I can handle any truth, and like any lie just makes me go bananas. So there's that. Okay, and this next one is really, really hard for my ego to admit. But if my one and only someone is ever gonna see this video, I should be honest, right? So he's gonna have to be beautiful, like on the outside, and I wish I didn't have that part of me. I'm incredibly vain. Everybody has like these superficial things that they're into, and everybody thinks that like the superficial thing that they're into is okay, but that other people like shouldn't be superficial. So that's fun. I have tried in the past to be in a romantic dynamic with someone who like wasn't, you know, the hottest hot that ever hotted, and 100% of the time that results in me just completely breaking that person's heart. I'm sorry. I feel so yucky and guilty admitting that and talking about it out loud, but here we are. I used to be a matchmaker like a really long time ago, and part of being a matchmaker is that you would ask the client for photos of their exes, because a lot of times people would, like, the person that everybody said that they wanted to date the most, they're like, I like guys who look like Johnny Depp, and it's like, hashtag me too, sister, duh, obvi. But I'm like, they wanted me to pull models out of a factory, and I get it, because I want that too. But then you look at their exes and you're like, okay, these are the kind of guys that you can pull, like reality check lady. When I tell you, when I show pictures of my exes to anyone, the feedback that I get, the word that you hear the most about people that have dated me just on the outside, just based on their outside, is he's beautiful. That's the one word that comes up over and over again, and that is my thing. I like beautiful men. Like, it's not the same as handsome. It's closer to pretty than handsome. I like guys. Yeah, ideally, my one and only someone would be like prettier than me. He would be the pretty one. That is what I'm looking for. A girl can dream. Okay, so moving past now let's get into some more superficial stuff. Oh god, this is so uncomfortable. For the record, I would have spent my life with a hot, lovable loser. I would have done that. Give me like the Chicago Cubs of men. Maybe he's won one World Series like ever. That's fine. I could have done that. Like, I could have spent my life with like, I don't know, a bartender or someone probably has to have, like, be very well financially established, or have a lot of patience and the ability to collaborate with me to manifest a huge amount of money, because I am at least $1,000 away from even being comfortable like kissing anyone. Preferably I will get like, so that's what it would cost for a Lyme co-infections test for my genetics. But I would love to be able to get a vibrant wellness panel, a galaxy panel, and an IGenics panel, in order to know what or if I'm dealing with infectious agents. I know, very attractive. This is why I'm single, in case you were wondering. Because I don't want to give anybody else those things. And believe it or not, for whatever reason, a lot of people think they want to date me, and they say that they don't care, and they're willing to like roll the dice. They feel lucky, and I don't care. I can't do that to anyone. I can't. I can't risk spreading infectious diseases. So yeah, for that reason, he's gonna have to either be able to like sponsor those tests and the subsequent treatments, or hold my hand while I manifest the money to do all of that. This is so uncomfortable. Okay, that's it. That's it for the superficial stuff. Other than that, I'm looking for someone who is like intelligent enough to know not what they don't know, but that they don't know. Kind of like the more you learn, then it lets you know, sort of thing. Someone who's at least reached that point in their personal growth, psychological development. Also, someone who is growth-minded. They have to have a growth mindset, and they have to have like a deliberate relationship with self-development. That's essential. Wisdom would be wonderful. Compassion and passion, and like morality, stoicism. I think I already mentioned like spirituality and being pious. Someone who's strong, that would be great. I'd love to hug a strong man. That's been, I don't even know how long since I've done that. Someone who is loyal and monogamous, and funny and fun, and sort of like charming, effervescent. Levity is really important to me. All of that. I would love. What else? Someone who's empowering, right? Like, I want someone who loves and accepts me, but then also someone who's constantly like helping to nudge me in the direction of continual growth and expansion and that kind of thing. Someone who wants kids. That's a deal breaker. Perfect guy, doesn't want kids. Like, catch me in a couple years after menopause, bro. Until then, I'm gonna try to find your replacement. Let's see, someone who's a good listener, open-minded. I really can't stand, especially when like close-mindedness and neuroticism come together in one person. That's very common, and like I know a lot of people like that, but I could not be happy partnering with someone like that. I'm super open-minded. On the Big 5 personality test, I score 98, which means that I'm like more open-minded than 98% of the people who take that test. And I score really low in neuroticism as well. So for that reason, if someone scores high on both of those things, it's probably not going to be in alignment. Someone who likes cuddling. I don't know what's wrong with men. I don't know if there's women out there who don't like cuddling, but like there's an odd number of men, I feel like, who don't like cuddling, especially when they are asleep. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I would prefer Charms all the time. I have had that in the past, and that's my favorite. It wouldn't have to be like an all the time thing, but if you're like, this is my side of the bed, that's your side, I don't need that, but it would bum me out. It's not my favorite. This next one, if the whole rest of my list wasn't enough to explain why I'm single, I think this one will. And I've been this way for like a really long time, but I find that the older I get, the more all of the men who can satisfy this need are married, and that is, they've got to be born free. It's a need for me. I wish it wasn't, but I'm a very monogamous creature. I'm incredibly loyal. I'm super devoted, and pornography feels like cheating to me. It just does. I've tried to like push out of my comfort zone with this, but it's not budging. It's a need for me. This is just my opinion. I think pornography is like wrong. I think it's horrific for the people who are actually involved in the industry. I think it's really bad for the people who consume it. The fact that it's free, I just feel like is proof that you are the product and they are, you're paying with your morality and your subconscious and just all of these. There's videos on my Patreon about my beliefs regarding this. That's really hard. I've dated a lot of wonderful born-free men, and I should have married one of those when I had the chance. Moving on. Someone who loves my dog Shock and wants to do doggy diabetes in the morning so that I don't have to. Right now, every 12 hours, I spend about an hour feeding my dog, and that is because of the many hours I spend during the week meal prepping. In my like ideal relationship, I'd still be happy to do all of the meal prepping, but I would love to get to sleep in and not have to like wake up and do doggy diabetes the first day. Like it stresses out my nervous system every single morning. I absolutely hate it. And I can't go to sleep early because of doggy diabetes. I can't sleep in because of doggy diabetes. But if I only had to do one, it would be so delicious. And I would choose to do the night one because I have trust issues. And frankly, like if anyone's going to mess up and my dog's going to pass in the middle of the night, which is highly possible, it should be me. Like that guilt, that weight should fall on me and not another person. So I figure I do nighttime doggy diabetes, they do the morning, then I get to wake up and have like slow mornings again and like stretch and do yoga and tea and not be in a nervous system situation. Maybe they're like more of a morning person, because like when I say morning right now, doggy diabetes happens at like 10:30 in the morning, which is like morning to me. That's like as soon as I wake up. But maybe they need less sleep or go to bed earlier, or maybe they just don't need slow and want slow mornings as much as I do. That's a want. That's not a need. But my God, it would be delicious. It would be so delicious if I did not have to do doggy diabetes every single day when I woke up. Even if they just did like half the week, that would be huge. So that's the thing that I want. I want someone who loves me very actively, you know, who has experience with love and capacity. So I've talked about this before. You want to find someone who is honest, loving, and willing, and then that comes from the book The 4-Man Plan. But let's add on to that Bob Marley's insight of you want someone who is able. You want someone who's willing and able, because those are two totally different things. You could be willing, but you have no idea what you're doing, and yeah, that's exhausting. I don't have time to train a man, so come trained, please. You should be housebroken. You should not be a feral child. You should know how to love someone and love someone well. I can do that. I can do most of these things. Like, I highlighted what I could do, and it's a lot of it. I cannot pay for my also bring that to the table. Let's see. Someone who makes me feel safe and irreplaceable. I think that's part of being a really competent, capable, loving person. Someone who is kind, communicative, sexy, charming, romantic, healthy. I'm not healthy. Like I'm healthy for someone who's dealing with, Lyme plus infectious diseases, but they should probably not be dealing with that. I guess it would be okay if they were, but they had the financial abundance to like actually contend with it. It's a very, very expensive hobby, okay? Don't recommend it. They should be health oriented though, and also, and this is one that I feel really uncomfortable admitting, but you get to want whatever you want. The heart wants what it wants. I want an omnivore. They should not be a vegetarian, and they should certainly not be a vegan. For one reason, we're never going to be able to eat together. Like, I love the idea of being a vegan. Don't get me wrong, or probably not a vegan, probably a vegetarian. I love that idea. But my body just cannot handle it, and since I am a sick girl who had to learn so much about health, I know that meat is like the most nutrient dense food that we have. I'm going to be wanting to give my kids meat. That's important. Speaking of children, we should have similar values that we want to instill in our children, right? And part of that for me is like I've lived in lots of cities. I loved living in the cities when I lived in the cities, but at this point in my house, at this point in my life, I want to live in nature. So like, give me the woods, give me the beach, give me a ranch, something like far away and secluded. It's scary because I hate ticks, but I want to raise my kids like outside. I want outside to be safe. I want it to be fun. I want my kids to be, and I want myself to be like living in nature. That's a want. I guess it's not a need. We'll also settle for Paris. I'm just saying. Someone who is friendly, someone whose friends like me, someone who is creative and artistic. Those creative is, I think most people are creative even if they don't realize it about themselves. Artistic is not narrow and it's not necessary, so like you don't have to be a painter or something, but you could, build things out of wood. That's artistic. There's a million different ways that can go. Okay, now we're going to switch gears and talk about the things that I can give. So the thing that I can give that, since I'm looking for a male partner at this point in my life, although that is subject to change, especially if I go through the change, you know what I'm saying? I'm willing to switch teams. It's not hard. Anyway, women's intuition. I am a very, very, very intuitive person. Whenever I take the Myers-Briggs personality test, I score 100% intuitive. So I have countless examples in my life of trusting a feeling and following that feeling and enjoying like a massive, massive payoff from following a feeling. So I really believe in women's intuition and intuition in general. Women have larger corpus callosums. That's the structure in the brain that runs across the two hemispheres right here and connects the two sides of the brain. And we also have denser prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex being like the most human, most evolved part of the brain. And I think that is why women's intuition is like undoubtedly a thing. And this is part of wanting to pair with someone who's like a really good leader. Like, I'm happy to sit in the passenger seat all of the time. metaphorical passenger seat, but I want someone who's going to listen to me and understand when I say, like, oh, no, you gotta turn left here. And even if they're like, why? And I'm like, I don't know, just do it. Just trust me. Someone who values my input and my intuition and turns left when I say to turn left in this metaphor. So I think that's the big thing that I bring to the table that the other person, I'm not expecting them to bring to the table. Other things that I bring to the table is feminine energy. I wasn't always this way. There's a video on my Patreon about my own journey from masculine to feminine energy. But at this point in my life, I have cultivated and practiced and developed a capacity for feminine energy that's like completely foreign to a younger version of me. So someone who appreciates that, someone who is excited about a woman who wants to turn a house into a home and not be the leader all the time and not be, bossy. I'm really not interested in being anyone's mother or bossing anyone around. Like, I'm very interested into like a yin yang, like two complementary halves coming together to make a whole. Give it to me. I'm very philosophical, monogamous, loyal, deliberate. I'm very patient and very loving. I'm a very safe person. I haven't been in a romantic relationship in a long time, so a lot of these insights are derived from and were developed in relationships with friends or with family, that kind of thing. But I get complimented often for being a safe, understanding person. Also, levity. I've got levity on lock. It doesn't matter if like things are good or things are bad. I'm looking for ways to be delighted. I'm looking for the punchline. I'm looking to have a good time. And I think that's a very valuable skill to have. I think it's really rare, and I think it's really behooved me. And I think that it's something that could add a lot of value to another person's life. I'm also very responsive. I am not a very reactive person, but I have cultivated my capacity for awareness and responsiveness. So I do those things well. I pay attention to what's being said, what's happening around me, and I try really hard to help everybody around me cultivate their best possible timeline, and I think that is valuable. I'm a cuddly person. I do excel at various love languages. Words of affirmation is the one that I need the most. I think I'm good at that. Physical touch tends to be the one that men need the most. I'm good at that. I'm very cuddly. I'm very warm, very affectionate. If you get there, until you get there, I'm like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Just no. But after you pass that threshold, I tend to be very warm. What are the other love languages? Gifts. I love giving gifts. I'm a great gift giver. Quality time. If you don't know how to have fun on vacation, I don't even know what to do with you. What's the other one? Physical touch, gifts, quality time, words of affirmation. Oh, acts of service all day long. I really love doing things for people. I mean, like I said before, karma yoga, yoga of action. Give it to me. I live there. That's my spiritual practice. I'm doing that all day, every day. I'm paying attention with deliberate intention and trying to see what the opportunity to contend with and commune with and express and let God flow through me is. So, yeah, acts of service. I'm your girl. I think I'm creative. I have a lot of ideas. I'm what it was, less loving, honest, loving, willing, and able. Boom. Just like got all of that in spades. I'm very health conscious. I'm very deliberate. And almost everything that I mentioned attraction. Philosophical, I don't think that's on my list, but I'm very well read, I'm very educated. I like to think that I excel at both sort of book smarts, street smarts, as well as like emotional intelligence. All of those things are personal interests of mine that I have cultivated pretty deliberately. So, huzzah. Yeah, so that is it for the most uncomfortable video in the best possible no, we're not on Patreon. Best possible timeline. If this resonated with you, I would love someone to tell me that I'm okay for being superficial, because part of me is definitely deeply uncomfortable with that, and deeply uncomfortable with shining a light on it, and that kind of shadow work stuff. Usually as a home on my Patreon, because it's hard to admit to the whole world that you are vain and superficial, but I am. So here we are. But I also, that's part of me, right? Like, this is why I love IFS therapy. Also, they probably shouldn't be a stranger to therapy and therapeutic techniques, personal growth, that kind of thing. I already mentioned that. But yeah, I love IFS, internal family systems therapy, also known as parts work, where you break down the psyche into navigable parts. So part of me, in order to be inspired, especially on that like physical touch level, I do have to have attraction and like physical attraction, aesthetic attraction, like visual attraction. And part of me is really embarrassed by that, because I think I should be like above that, but I'm not. So here we are. Anyway, I would love to hear your list, your insights, your ideas. What is it that you look for in a person? What do you want? What do you need? What can you give? Do you think there's anything I missed? Are you like, Yvette, I know you, and you didn't mention XYZ. I'd love to see that and to have that like brought to light. I'm all about shadow work and learning more about my favorite subject, which is me. It really is, though, because I mean, I'm the only one that I have like dominion and control over, so I feel like the more that I can learn about myself, the better I can show up in the world, and the more I can be of service both to myself and others, and just this entire timeline in general. So that is my list of what I want, what I need, and what I can give in a romantic relationship. Fingers crossed that tomorrow Prince Charming comes into my life and he is a Lyme litter doctor. I will let you know. I'll keep you updated. Until then, thank you so much for joining me, and for my best possible timeline to yours. Until next time, I'm